Okay. All right, good. So please remember this. This is really important. I have no other purpose here today than to help you. I'm not affiliated with your organization at all. So if I tell you something, it's because I know that it's good for you and that it works. And I don't benefit, you benefit. So let's dive in. All right. Show of hands. How many of you wish that you could get paid a title every single month? All right. All right. We have a few people that really don't want to get paid a title every month. Okay. I mean, not everybody raised their hands. So, all right. I appreciate your honesty. No, we have people on the other side of the room, Michaela, that don't want to get paid the title, but all right. So those of you who do want to get paid a title every month, why don't you? I'd love to hear why. Anyone? And if you can repeat, if somebody could close to the mic could repeat, I didn't hear what was said.
Struggle teams. What else, guys? My team's not working.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Not enough recruiting.
We don't have
recruiting.
We don't have the best connection here. I hope you're hearing me. But here's what I heard. Team is not working, not recruiting. What did I miss?
Not enough bookings, not enough.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. So let me ask you, did you know that when you promote, the home office expects you to get paid a title every month? Because when you don't, they perceive that you're not really doing your job. Now, you may be doing your job, but that's the perception. The notion of not getting paid a title and still being able to keep your title for that month is a courtesy extended to you from the home office. But it is not a good business practice for you. You know, if you were a newly promoted director in my organization, I would tell you this. The home office and I expect you to get paid a title every month, every single month. That extra 2 months when you can still keep your title, even though you're not getting paid, is for emergencies only. It is, let me repeat that. It is for emergencies only. In my opinion, one of the smartest things a leader can do is to decide to get paid a title every month, every single month. Notice what I said. I said, decide to get paid a title every single month. So if you can decide to get paid a title, the opposite is true as well, right? Now, look, I firmly believe that no one actually sets out to not get paid a title that month. I believe that. No one makes a conscious effort. But would you agree with me that we can sometimes decide that getting paid a title isn't a priority in a given month? Would you agree that we can sometimes decide to let ourselves off the hook for a month or two? Would you agree that we can decide to really only put the effort in every third month? Some of you really don't like hearing this because you immediately go to that place in your brain where you beat yourself up. You feel like a loser. You hate hearing that it's actually in your control. But rather, you should be thrilled to hear that it's in your control. After all, if you had no control over the matter, why should we even bother talking about this? So, what is at stake every time we don't get paid a title? Well, there's the obvious. We miss out on income that we can never recover. You know, it's not like if you don't get paid a title this month, but you do next month, they give you your back pay. It doesn't work like that. Didn't you decide to do this, at least in part, because of the income? Can you just skip your mortgage payment when you don't get paid a title? Will they understand? Don't you have plans for that income? Goals? Bills to pay? Why aren't those goals important enough to you to work for them? We also might miss out on some perks. What else? How about the emotional toll it takes when we don't get paid a title? How does it make you feel? Does it make you question whether or not you're any good at this? Does that make you question whether or not you should be doing this at all? Thinking this way, before we know it, we're talking ourselves right out of doing this, and maybe even on to looking for the next big thing. And we convince ourselves that we need a break from this. So we kind of disappear. Maybe not physically, but emotionally, intellectually disappear from our teams. And we fall into a pattern of being off and on, off and on, off and on. In other words, we sit back and basically take a month or 2 or 3 off, and then we realize that we're about to lose title, so we make an all-out push for a month. And then that's so exhausting that we need to step back for a bit. And we settle into a pattern of off and on, off and on. This is so dangerous. This is so dangerous. What happens to our teams during this off and on cycle? They check out. They learn that they cannot trust us. All the time and emotional energy we spend trying to decide whether or not we should do this keeps us from doing it and being successful. In fact, it makes it certain that we will not be successful. And the good news is then we can say to ourselves, see, I told you, I'm no good at this. This right here is probably the biggest reason that most directors never make it past the director level. It's one of the biggest reasons for a non-performing team. Want to break out of this cycle? Anybody want to break out of this cycle? Simple answer. Make a decision. Make a decision to get paid at your title every single month. Because once you don't get paid at title, it's a little bit easier the next time and a little bit easier the time after that. And before you know it, you've convinced yourself that you can only ever get paid at title every third month. But here's the thing. Did you ever stop to think about this? If you can get paid at title every third month, you can get paid at title every month. Just decide you're going to do this and don't entertain any other thoughts. And guess what? You will watch your business take off. So now that you've decided to be successful, decided to get paid a title every single month, what are the most important things for you to be paying attention to? I have 6 tips for you. Okay. Number 1, work on your own personal business. Sell $5,000 yourself every single month. Period. End of story. If you're tired of people not keeping their promise, not selling, sell it yourself, and you'll never need to worry about anyone else again. Every new director in my organization hears this from me when they promote. Sell $5,000 every single month yourself. Number 2, make qualifying early your goal. Okay, I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying here. In other words, don't make qualifying as a director every month your goal. Make qualifying as a director early in the month your goal. Specifically by the 15th of the month. Why? When you're focused on the last day of the month, you let yourself off the hook for taking action earlier rather than later. We're all procrastinators. So you push off what you know you need to do until the end, until you absolutely can't wait anymore. You keep telling yourself, I have all month. When you qualify at the last minute, month after month, in case you hadn't noticed, it's stressful. And then you wonder why you question whether or not this is the right place for you. You're creating stress that doesn't need to be there. Why is qualifying early, not just qualifying early, such a big deal? This right here is the answer. Until you're qualified, it's all about you. Once you're qualified, you can switch your attention to your team. Then it becomes all about them. That right there is how your team starts to thrive. The fastest way to turn your team against you and keep them from responding to you, want to know the number one way? Only contact them at the end of the month. Instead, contact them at the beginning of the month, and you can help them get up and running for the month instead of contacting them at the end of the month when they know. They're not stupid, guys. They know you're only sniffing around for sales. Number 3, have more than you need. Have more than you need. Probably the biggest reason that director teams have low sales is because they have the bare minimum needed and they're not paying attention to the 80-20 rule. Here's how it works. Every month, 80% of your people will do 20% of the work, and 20% of your people will do 80% of the work. Now, while you may have heard about the 80-20 rule before, you may not be running your business as though it were true. So how does this work, this rule work in real life? If you have 5 people on your team, 20% of 5 is 1 person. 1. So this 1 person sells something. And for easy math's sake, we're going to say they sell around $1,000 a month, while the other 4 basically sell nothing. And your team sales minus your sales are about $1,000. If you have 10 on your team, then the 80-20 rule says you're looking at 2 people who are basically selling and 8 who are not. That means that your team of 10 people might sell a bit over $2,000, and unless you're making up the difference, y'all are not qualifying. Here's the magical number. It's when you have approximately 25 people that you can start counting on your team selling that $5,000. Because 20% of 25 is 5. And if they each sell around $1,000, you're good. By the way, if you're an upper level director, listen up, because the same thing is true with directors. You need more than the minimum in order to get paid at title every month. because every director won't qualify every single month. If you have exactly the number of directors you need, you're in trouble. It just will not happen. So make peace with that. So to all you senior directors, executive directors, senior execs, nationals, on a very practical level, think about this. We are required to qualify more directors in our first generation than at any other level. And some of us actually have fewer directors in our first gen than at other levels. So that means that we need a higher percentage of first gen directors to qualify every month just to get paid at title. Doesn't it make sense to pay more attention to your first gen? All right, number 4. Recognize what you want repeated. Recognize what you want repeated. Remember that you raise the bar when you remember to recognize going above and beyond the job, not for just doing the job. In other words, on a practical level, if you're making a really big deal of team members who are active at the last minute every month, everyone believes that you like people qualifying at the last minute. Guys, duh. Rather, I recognize active until the 15th of the month. And on my director team Facebook page, you would only get recognized for qualifying as a director until the 15th of the month and not after that. Why? Listen carefully. Because qualifying is your job. It is expected. Qualifying by the 15th is going above and beyond your job. So it's worth getting recognized for. When I changed this, it started to seriously shift the culture on my team, which, by the way, does not happen overnight. Number 5, work with your people. You've heard it said over and over again that this is a relationship business. So how are your relationship skills? Are you extending that concept of it's a relationship business to your team or just to your hosts and guests? A lot of directors don't talk to their people as much as they should because they're terrified that they'll say the wrong thing and lose them. However, not talking to your people guarantees you will lose them. By the way, notice I said talk, not text, not DM, talk. This is controversial. And I know a lot of you don't like to talk to people on the phone or on Zoom. Guys, you know, they say you get what you pay for. You get what the effort you put in matches what you get out. This is hugely important. I can't overemphasize this. Let me ask you a question. I want you to think for just a moment about the really, really important relationships in your life. Maybe your spouse, your children, your parents. Do you think you would have the same relationship you have if you never talked with them and you only ever texted? Look, it's absurd, right? To think that way. Now, please hear me. I'm not saying don't text your people. I am saying don't only text your people. And remember, this is what I try to live by. No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And they don't know how much you care if you're never willing to talk to them. I don't care how many emojis you put in a text. It is not the same as hearing your enthusiasm and your excitement in your voice, or your genuine concern when something isn't going well for them. Now, it's easy for some of us to make working with our people our focus at the cost of our own personal business. Notice that this is point number 5. Point number 1 was what? Can someone tell me what point number 1 was?
Work on your personal business.
Bingo! It's number 1 for a reason. It is number 1 for a reason. And so, yes, if you only have an hour to devote to your business every day, then the majority of that hour needs to be devoted to your personal business. But if you are completely ignoring your people, you have a non-performing team. And there's a difference between being a cheerleader and a coach. A cheerleader is easy for most of us. Yay, Susie hit $1,000. Yay, Betty did this. Yay. That's not what I'm talking about. Let me ask you this. Any of you who are into sports, think about this. Football is a great example. There are cheerleaders and there are coaches, and both actually play a role in a successful game. The cheerleaders can get the crowd all stirred up, which can help the team. No two ways about it. But if a player is having trouble performing, are they going to the cheerleader or are they going to the coach? They're going to the coach, guys. And if you're only ever a cheerleader, no one is seeking you out. What does a coach have to do sometimes? Not all the time, sometimes. Have difficult conversations. Because if you ignore problems that a team member is having, I mean, business problems. I am not talking personal problems, business problems. You know, for example, one of the things I hear all the time when I talk to directors is, oh, I have this brand new team member and she is so hot. She's smoking hot. She sold whatever, you know, thousands of dollars last month. And my first question to that director is, and did she get bookings? Oh, I don't know. Guess what? What's going to happen to that person when they run out of family and friends? They're gone. So we have to address those situations, or we have to look for them, or we're going to lose people. So working with your people is not just cheering your people on. Yes, of course you cheer your people on, but it's not just that. It's also helping them, correcting problems. All right, number 6, short and sweet. You will stop taking excuses when you stop making excuses. It's really hard for some of us to work with our people when our people are giving us excuse after excuse after excuse, because they kind of sometimes resonate and we're thinking, yeah, well, I do the same thing. When you stop making excuses for yourself and take responsibility for your business, you will stop taking excuses from everyone else. All right, guys, I threw a lot at you, and I noticed we lost a couple of people, but I hope we didn't lose everyone. I am more than happy to answer questions or hear your comments. How can I best help you?
You guys have questions? Yvonne, what you want
me to go first?
Yeah, come on. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be easier. Yvonne's gonna come and ask a question, Carol.
Okay, great.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Yvonne, how are you?
I'm super, gal. How are you?
Great.
Thank you so much. So you talked a little bit about upper level leadership and having like the overage. Like I feel like 1,000,000% that's so true, right? So is there kind of a ratio for that as well? Is that also 80-20? Works the same exact way? Like is
No,
there like, you know what I'm saying?
that's a great question, Yvonne. And here's the thing. The reason, and that this is actually a fantastic question because it leads to a really important point. The reason there is so much focus on getting people to director and having them promote is because directors are more invested in their business than consultants. So the 80-20 rule really does not apply to your director pool. In other words, when I look at my first gen directors, I don't have 80% of them doing only 20% of the work. Okay. It really is applicable to your consultants. And now, having said that, will all directors qualify every month? No, absolutely not. And that's why we definitely need to have more than we need, but we don't need to have 80% more than we need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Like, do you think that there is a specific number you should have a ratio?
I think it depends on your team. I mean, you know who your non-performing directors are. Here's the thing, and this might sound cold to some of you, but if you want to be around 31 years in this business, you have to be strategic. There's no two ways about it. So what does that mean? It means that when you see a director starting to, you have to do two things. Number one, reach out and try to work with her. But number two, if she doesn't want to work, before she loses title, you have to work to try to replace her. Because that is how you protect you. Now, I want to talk to you for a quick second about this reach out to her thing. True story. Probably about, I don't know, 6 years ago, I saw one of my third gen directors who normally was selling $5,000 or $6,000 a month herself every single month, go down to like 3 or 4, and then down to 1 or 2. And so I picked up the phone and called her. And a freaky thing, she actually answered the phone. Okay. I know. It was meant to be. She answered the phone. And we had a conversation, and I said to her, you have always been such a strong seller. What happened? And she started to go into this whole long story. I'm not going to bore you with the details. The point is, all of it revolved around how other people thought about her. So I said to her, so basically what you're telling me, I asked her first, I said, let me ask you this. Does your family need the income you were able to provide when you were selling $5,000 or $6,000 a month? She said, absolutely. In fact, if it weren't for that income, we might have actually lost our house. And I said, whoa, okay. So the answer is a big fat yes. It's not just a, yeah, kinda. It's a big fat yes. She said, absolutely. So I said, how are things right now? Because that income is not there. And she said, we're really struggling. So then I said this. So what you're saying to me is you're allowing how other people think of you determine whether or not you're going to have a house for your kids. And she kind of was shocked, but long story short, that director, she was a director in title, went on to become an executive director. True story. Now, I couldn't just ignore that. Third gen director. Look, I don't know even how many third gen directors I have, maybe 35 or 40. I could have lost her, and it would not have made a significant difference in my business, but it made a huge difference in her business to just reach out. And you know what she said to me? A couple years later, I never knew how much you cared until we had that conversation. And then I really realized you really care about our business.
So powerful.
Yeah. So I hope that was a long-winded answer, Yvonne. I hope I answered your question.
Yes. Thank you so much. We're so excited that you started us off this morning. So thank you.
You
I gotta
are-
go run back and write down everything you said.
Okay, you're welcome.
So, Carol, we got a question in the back. They said, what do you do with consultants in that situation? So not just your leaders, but what if your consultants and your personal team are struggling like with bookings or whatever? So do you call them as well, or?
Absolutely. And here's the thing, guys. And this is where we tread on thin ice, but unless you are a trained, qualified psychological therapist, do we have anybody? Okay, I'm not either. Then you have to draw a line, and a hard and fast line, between talking to them and diving into their personal stuff, okay? And that can be tough to do. Here's the way I have learned to handle that, because very often when we have a situation where I'm going to give you an example of a real example of somebody who I went on my team who went through this recently. She was not a stellar superstar, but she was a consistent performer. She sold around $1,000 every month. Okay. And I started to notice she kind of was checking out. So we talked, and she told me that she was going through an extremely nasty divorce. And she proceeded to tell me all the gory details. I listened, but here's how I responded. I said to her, I am so sorry you're having to go through that. That stinks. That's not fun for anyone. And unfortunately, that is also not my area of expertise. So I am not qualified to help you with that. But what I can do is help you keep your Pampered Chef business on track while you're going through that. Is that something you would like? She said, this is what she said to me. It's not only something I would like, it's something I need, because I'm going to need the income. Then I said to her, okay, if you need the income, let's work out exactly how much income you need from your business, and let's figure out how, what it's going to take for you to get that income every month. And I can help you stay on track while you're dealing with all this other, terrible stuff in your life. So, because I often hear, but everyone on my team has a problem. Yeah, we all do, guys. It's called life. But you can't get in the weeds with them in all of that. Or number one, you're not qualified to help, so it's dangerous. You could give advice that it's not the right advice. But number two, it's exhausting for you. One of the biggest reasons I hear directors say, well, I don't talk to my people because when I do, I'm exhausted, is because of this reason. And guys, if I tell you I'm not qualified to help you with that, does that equal me saying I don't care about what you're going through? Does it show of heads, yes or no? Yeah, exactly. It actually means I care so much about you that I don't want to be the one to give you advice because I'm not qualified. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
This is the time to ask. One? How did you get so wise, Carol?
I got old.
Well, I don't know, being paid at title for what, 30 years? I don't know.
I'll tell you right now, the reason I have gotten paid at title every month is because I work my business. And this is a part, remember at the very beginning, I said, do I have permission to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear? This falls under that category. A lot of us came to the business because we were attracted, because we thought, oh, we can make some extra money and it seems like fun. And then we realize, we get into the business and we realize the income potential. And we want a piece of that. But here's what we forget about. We forget to make our efforts match our expectations. If your effort is here, but your expectation of income is here, guess what happens? You're not ever connecting. So, listen, if you think I came out of the gate a stellar salesperson with tons of bookings and sales and recruits, you are dead wrong. Someday, I actually recorded it. I talk about my story and the fact that when I started, I booked the number of parties that my recruiter told me to book for my first month. And, this doesn't always happen, but they all held. So I did those. And by the way, at the time, because it was only cooking shows, not virtual, you were required to book 4, okay? She told me to book 5 because she said 1 is probably going to cancel. So I booked 5, but they all 5 held. All right. You know how many parties I did the next month? 0. You know how many parties I did the month after that? You know how many parties I did the month after that? Okay. So I had no clue what I was doing. I had no direct selling experience. I had no business experience, meaning I had never run a business. I had never managed other people, none of it. But I started to realize the income potential of this business. And let me tell you something, guys. When I embraced that and I decided to work for it, I changed my family's life forever. I changed my family's life forever. That baby and that toddler that I started my business with are now adults who graduated from college, and no, they didn't go to a cheap college. They actually both went to Stanford. Wow. And they both graduated all the way through their master's degrees debt-free. Wow. We paid off our house. We have 0 debt. I am speaking to you right now from one of my homes because home is Dallas, Texas, and that's where my kids grew up. But when they graduated from Stanford, they stayed in the Bay Area in California. And so my husband and I said, we're never going to see him again. So we bought a second home in California, which is where I am right now. Okay. So we were able to give my son and his wife a big chunk of their down payment for them to buy a house, pay for weddings. I mean, and give generously back to our community. I have changed my family's life forever because I was willing to work for it. But the coolest thing about this business is you can decide the exact same thing. And guys, does it mean that in 31 years I had nothing but green lights? No, it doesn't mean that. In 2009, I battled cancer. In June, I had a stroke. I mean, I have dealt with health issues. I have dealt with family health issues. I have sold houses, built houses, moved, had kids graduate, had a wedding. I've had life for 31 years, but I always made my business a priority. And I never checked out. In over 30 years at the director level or above, I have never taken a grace month, including when I had a stroke. I was in the hospital in June for a week, in ICU for 3 days. When I got out, I got busy, finished up my parties, worked with my people. I mean, it's not rocket science, guys. It really isn't. It's a commitment, in my mind, to what's important to me. And that's my family. So I am willing to work for them. That's what it boils down to. I think I'm out of time, Michaela.
Oh, Carol, round of applause. Like, seriously. But now you guys know why I asked her to be the first speaker, because she will send you to church every time. Oh, Carol, we are so thankful for you. Like, you're awesome. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Guys, enjoy your retreat. Bye for now.
Bye, Carol. Thank you. Oh, man. Isn't she awesome, guys?